This is J Street MetroTech. Transfer is available to the A, C, and R trains.
MetroTech, one of America's most successful urban redevelopment projects. Office park, college campus, and vibrant social space. But what led to its creation?
When I came into office in 1978, the city was on the edge of bankruptcy. Landlords abandoned their buildings because tenants weren't paying rent. Crime had escalated, and you had vandalism and graffiti. I mean, it was a very tough time.
New York City in the 1970s. From a high water mark of 3.8 million jobs in 1969, more than 600,000 jobs disappeared by 1976. 800,000 people moved away, more than 100,000 units stood vacant.
In the 70s and 80s, students tell me they would come out of class in one building and run across the area because there were gunshots going off as crack deals would go down the wrong way. So if we're still in that environment, we're basically gone.
It would take a visionary to lead NYU-Poly towards a better future.
Do you remember when George Bugliarello came to be president, they interviewed George at the University Club in Manhattan because they didn't want him to see the campus, because they knew if he saw the campus, he'd say no. So he says yes, then they take him out to the campus and George sees this place. It's like, what did I do? So I think that's probably the day that the dream started for George.
George Bugliarello, president of NYU-Poly from 1973 to 1994, and one of the powerhouses behind what became known as MetroTech.
George's original view was this was going to be a corporate research park where like Pfizer's and AT&T had their research centers.
Together with Brooklyn Borough President Howie Golden, George worked to attract others to the cause.
It was a battle too, because the city wasn't that interested, the developers weren't that interested, until he connected with Bruce Ratner and Mayor Koch and others that began to get the idea. It took a lot of work.
The land had been assembled, but nobody wanted to move downtown Brooklyn. They were leery of crime. And so what we ultimately did together was to deal with the crime problem by guaranteeing that the city would make a special ongoing effort committing specific numbers of police officers to the area. And on that basis, Chase Manhattan decided it would move in. Other corporations decided that they would move in and create what they hoped would be another Silicon Valley. It is so close to Manhattan, the transportation facilities are superb. It therefore became a great opportunity for companies who were involved with Lower Manhattan, Wall Street.
In 1989, construction for the 16-acre, 4.7 million square foot urban research park begins. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for the first Polytechnic building, the Dibner Library, was celebrated 3 years later.
MetroTech put some shine back into Brooklyn, and it indicated to the business community and the leadership of New York City and beyond that perhaps Brooklyn was worth investing in. And it took Bruce Ratner to understand that the future of New York City in many ways depended upon the success of Brooklyn.
An established anchor for downtown Brooklyn, MetroTech spurs Ratner to develop the Atlantic Center nearby in 1996, and in 1997, the Brooklyn Marriott opens across the street from Poly's main building.
Looking at what is now called MetroTech, which of course was always J Street, for us, I'm struck by the Marriott Hotel, of course. There was never a hotel of that kind here. and the office park nature of the street.
But were there trade-offs to MetroTech's success?
I felt very comfortable about the way in which the school was situated here in downtown Brooklyn. There was a lot of embraceable local shops. That gave the neighborhood a lot of good old-fashioned Brooklyn character. We also had a lot of shopping on Fulton Street, which I guess now they have a mall. And if you'd have a special celebration, you would walk on over to Junior's and have a piece of cheesecake.
The urban design strategy was to sort of turn its back on the surrounding neighborhoods. And so as a result of that, the streets were actually blocked. The only people who come every day through those streets are people who work in the building and the students. We want to think about ways that the neighborhood would actually have reasons to come into the new Polytechnic campus. With the great leadership that's at Poly now, there's an opportunity to actually think about how to capitalize on what MetroTech started 40 years ago.
The I2E campus transformation, NYU-Poly's $38 million capital plan, embodying the Institute's character: invention, innovation, entrepreneurship.
We've begun thinking about a new laboratory, a laboratory of the future that actually begins building on this idea of innovation and integration of ideas.
We'll build a 10, 15, hopefully 30-story, 40-story building. And then we'll have a landmark right here on campus that says, absolutely, I know where I'm at. I'm at Poly, and I'm at MetroTech, and I'm in downtown Brooklyn.
The vision for us is to actually think about not so much as MetroTech being the generator, but for Poly to be the generator, the economic generator, and the social generator for urban life here in Brooklyn.
Poly took the first step toward reaching that goal in May when it signed a 20-year lease with Forest City Ratner for 120,000 square feet of space at 2 and 15 MetroTech.
Everyone was cramped. So when students wanted to make their concrete canoe, there was no room. When students wanted to build their car, there was no room. And I said, we got to spread out, got to open up.
2 and 15 MetroTech will house 2 academic departments, as well as Poly's administrative functions.
On the top of all the office buildings that George and Bruce Ratner helped build, you now have 7,000 residential units that are beginning to fill up with young couples, children, all that goes with that. So you're going to see people walking the dog in the morning, you're going to see people out at night.
Early in the new millennium, MetroTech has already posted impressive numbers. Between 2005 and 2010, the area added 5,000 housing units, and in 2009, office space had an overall vacancy rate of 7.1%, the lowest in 4 years.
MetroTech changed how Brooklynites looked at themselves, and it told the world that Brooklyn was worth investing in.
It's an unbelievable success. Unbelievable success. And I'm proud I had something to do with it.